a revolution, a civil war, a civil rights movement, and now the election of a black man to the highest office of the land is astonishing. And one should kind of look at it with awe. You know, how does that system hold on? And yet it does. And so I look at the election of Obama as, importantly, I think, as a blow, but not a fatal or a final blow to white supremacy. I think it's astonishing that the American people could pull themselves together to do that. And yet, what does it mean? Well, it means America isn't white anymore, for one thing, which is kind of an interesting observation that James Baldwin made 40 years ago. He said, America is not white any longer, and it will never be white again. And that's true. So overwhelmingly, people of color, including overwhelming majority of Cubans from Miami, voted for Obama. Overwhelming young people. 78% of Jews voted for Obama. When all the Jewish leadership opposed Obama. What the hell is going on? It's an amazing thing. Only 42% of white people voted for Obama. So 43%. So 57% voted against him. But still, it's an amazing accomplishment, I think. And when I was in Grant Park the night of November 8, 2008, at the election, I just couldn't, I was overwhelmed. I wasn't emotionally crushed. I was emotionally elated to be there. And partly, as Bernadine said last night, it's partly because I cry all the time at movies and everything else. Cried all the way through Avatar. I hope you did too. What I loved about that night in Chicago was it was a little bit of the world I want to live in. Black and white and brown and Asian, you know, young and old, police dancing with each other. I mean, what the hell? Where was I? You know, I knew that dawn would break and it would be a distant memory, but it's where I wanted to live then. So Obama and change. Of course, people voted for Obama because they invested in him. He was like a cipher. They invested in him, their own hopes and dreams and aspirations. Obama said all through the election campaign, I'm a moderate, middle-of-the-road, compromising, pragmatic, and he could have added ambitious politician. He said it all through the campaign. You remember he said that? If you don't, you know, you might have been reading something. But in the United States, the right wing looked at that statement and said, he's lying. He's a Muslim, socialist, terrorist sympathizer who's kidding us that he's a moderate. And the left, and the liberals in particular, looked at Obama saying that and said, he's too smart to be saying that. He's too kind. He's too good a person. I think he's winking at me. In secret, he loves gay people. No, I mean, you can read his book, you know, The Audacity of Hope. He is what he says he is. He's a moderate. But there's one other thing he said during the campaign, and this goes to the question of what am I doing now and what should we all be doing now? He was asked at one point, who would Martin Luther King support when it was the primaries he was running against Clinton and Edwards? And his response very quickly was, King wouldn't support any of us. He'd be in the streets building a movement for justice and keeping us accountable. And it seems to me he really said something profound with that. He said something in a sense that only a community organizer could say, which is, what he was pointing to is that while there is power in the White House and the Pentagon and Wall Street and the Congress, there's also power in the factory, the neighborhood, the street, the school, the classroom. And that's the only power that people like me and ordinary people I work with have any access to. So it always frustrates me that we spend so much time looking at the White House and wondering what the great man is going to do. Will he bring us peace? The answer to that is no. Will he end capitalism? The answer to that is no. Will he bring us environmental sanity? No. You know, the question is, what are we doing to bring peace? I've often said it the year after the election to young people, Obama's not going to save you, but with any luck, you could build a movement that would save Obama's presidency. You know, that's more likely because he'll do what he has to do in reaction to what's really going on. And in my own mind, I point to Lyndon Johnson, the most effective politician of his generation, passed the most far-reaching civil civil rights legislation since Reconstruction was never close to the Black freedom movement. He was a cracker from Texas. FDR was not close to the labor movement, and Abraham Lincoln did not belong to an abolitionist party. So three of the great presidents of the last 150 years were not who they're said to be or what they represent. So the question isn't what's Obama going to do for us. It's what are we going to do to make a saner, more sensible, more balanced, more peaceful world. So what do? I've been involved in politics my whole adult life. And yes, for 10 years I was on the run. And for about 6 of those years I was involved in extreme acts of vandalism against the war machine and against empire. I still do vandalism, but it's not so extreme. I broke a window of a bus during the Republican convention. I apologize. But you know, so I'm still very active. And the most recent time that I got arrested in one of those kind of things was the Republican convention in New York. So
when was that?
Has changed for me. I'm sorry?
When was that?
The Republican convention in New York was 2000 and I want to say it was 2004 when Bush got renominated. Isn't that true? And there was all those sweeping arrests. The cops were crazy. And we had done a bicycle. We'd done a bicycle demonstration. People were knocked off their bicycles and taken away in mass. It was crazy. But it wasn't us who was crazy, as usual. Anyway, I think that any predicting of what's going to happen is a mistake. I want to get to Nathan's question about, about will there be a political movement? How did you say it, Nathan? How did you say the question?
I said, what's the future for radical politics in the state?
Oh, the future for, I have no idea. I can be hopeful, though. The reason I have no idea is I think that one of the things that's very ugly on the left is a kind of dogmatism and determinism. And one of the things that's crazy across the spectrum is either optimism or pessimism. You know, both optimists and pessimists think they have some kind of purchase on being able to predict the future. And really nobody knows. But the thing I am certain of, and this is what we were talking about a little bit in the lobby, the thing I'm certain of is that we are living in a dynamic and forward-charging history. It feels like we're at the end of history, but it couldn't possibly be true. In other words, one of the things that power always wants to make us believe is that this is a stable situation. But we're living in an unstable situation.